You can open a document with a quick shortcut. Control-O will bring open the Open pane on Word, and then you can open the file of your choice. If you want to create a new document, Control-N is the shortcut for you. Have you created a document and you want to save it? Hit Control-S and save the file in any location you want. Need to print a document that you saved? Hit Control-P to bring up the print dialog and then select the printer of your choice using the printer drop-down. Once you're happy, hit print. Once you're finished with the document, you can just close that specific document by hitting Control-W. Now, navigating your Word documents, you can move the cursor down by hitting the down arrow key. So as you see, it's now next to the word text box, header, galleries, so on, and as it moves down the document. To move right, the right arrow key, and to move left, you hit and hold the left arrow key. And to move back up in the document, you can just hit the up arrow key or hold it, and it will move up in the document. You can also navigate by moving up screens at a time. So let's say I am down on this page, for example, on page 3. If I want to move up a whole screen, I can hit the page up key on my keyboard. And as you see, it's moved up a screen at a time of the document. So as you see, we've got device video provides a powerful way to help you prove your point. If I hit page up, you see that now moves to the bottom of the visible screen. The same is true if you want to move down a screen at a time. You just hit the page down key. As you see, it's moving down a screen at a time. If you want to move to the beginning of a line, as you see, the text cursor at the moment is here near the word and. You can just hit the home key and it moves the cursor to the beginning of a line. And now you see the cursor is at the word coordinated at the start. You can also move it back to the end of the line by hitting the end key on your keyboard. Now, we're on page 4 of the document, as you can see in the bottom left, but let's say we needed to jump back up to the top of the document. You can do that with Control and then hit Home. And there you go, you move to the beginning of the document. Now, let's say instead we want to jump to the end of the document. You can do that by holding Control and hitting the End key. And now we're on page 68 of 68. And finally, we're going to have a look at the Go To dialog box to navigate through your Word document. Now, to bring this up, you can hit Control G. And as you see, you get the Find and Replace window, but on the Go To section. Now, as you can see, there are choices of what you can go to, be it a page, a section, a bookmark, a field, an object, a line, whatever it is, it's in this Go To box. Now, if we look at page, for example, you can enter the page number of the document you want to go to. So let's say we wanted to go to page 1. If I hit enter, it will go to page 1. But let's say I wanted to move 3 pages down into the document. You could just put +3. And what happens is it will do the page you're on +3. So say I'm on page 1, I've done that, I'm now on page 4. But let's say I wanted to move back 3 pages, -3. Hit go to, and as you see, we are back at the top of the document on page 1. The same can be done for lines and many other objects on here as well. So let's say I wanted to go to line 500. If I hit enter, as you see, it's taking me to line 500, which is on page 11. If I was to hit -498, for example, you can see it's now taken us to line 2 on the document itself. Moving on to editing, the 3 most basic shortcuts we all know is cut, copy, and paste. And let's say we needed to copy this paragraph and also have it as the first paragraph. So we'll select it and hit Control C. And I'm just going to bring it up here and I'm going to hit Control V to paste the paragraph. As you see, it's identical to that one. But let's move a little bit further down. And let's say I want to cut this paragraph on reading and I want to bring it further down. So we're going to cut it from here by hitting Control X. And let's say I wanted it after this for example paragraph. And I'm just going to hit Control V to paste it. Now, let's say I accidentally select a bunch of text without realizing and accidentally hit backspace. We've just lost a chunk of our work. Where is it? How do I get it back? You also have the undo key, which is Control Z, and it will bring back any changes you have made. In the event you need to redo any changes you have made, you can also hit Control Y, but that will take you back. In this scenario, it will take you back to something that was undesirable, which was deleting a chunk of our document. Now, let's say we need to find some text in our Word document. Control F will bring open the navigation pane where we can type and search for words in the document. So say I typed in Word, there's 947 results in here. But let's say I wanted Word provides, for example. It will then show those examples. Now let's say we needed to replace some text. So I'm just going to make a change here on the first line. Word here provides. And let's say we want to replace. We can hit Control H, which will open the Find and Replace dialog. Now, in the Find What, we want it to find Word here provides, and then in the Replace With box, we'll put what we want it to replace it with. So we're going to go Word provides, or let's do something different. Word can give you, and let's hit replace, and as you see it has finished searching the document and has made one change here. Word can give you header, footer, blah blah blah. Now let's say you needed to select everything within your Word document. You can do that by selecting Control A and then performing whatever actions you need to do on it. And then finally we have checking spelling and grammar, which you can do by hitting F7, which will bring up Microsoft Editor, which will check your document for grammatical errors and so on. Now, formatting in Word. You can make text bold by selecting it and then either hitting the B that pops up in the window here where it mentions the font and so on, or you can use the shortcut Control B. To make text italicized or to put text in italics, select the text you want and then hit Control I. To have text underlined, select the text you require and then hit Control U. To align text to the left-hand side or to justify the text, select the text you want or the paragraph, and as you see here you can hit Control L and it will align it to the left, or on this section I want it to justify, so justify means it will go to the left hand side. Control J will do the same. When you align text to the left, the text is aligned with the left margin of the page. This means that the left edge of the paragraph will be aligned with the left margin of the document page. On the other hand, when you justify text, it is aligned evenly along both the left and right margins of the page. This means that the edges of the paragraph are stretched to be within their respective margins. So In other words, when you align text to the left, it creates a ragged right edge, while just fine text creates a straight right edge. Just fine text can make your document look more polished and professional, but it can also create awkward space in between words and letters. Therefore, it's important to use justification sparingly and only on occasion when it's appropriate for the specific document. Here is a visual demonstration of the difference between aligning text to left and justifying text. So as you see, we've got this paragraph here, and this is aligned to the left-hand side. You can tell that because if you look at the end of each line, it's not equal and it's not aligned to one another. Now, if I select this whole paragraph and I want to justify it, you can see here there's a visual demonstration in the popped up menu. But if we hit Control J, we can see that it has spaced out each word on each line to make it look symmetrical as a paragraph, which can make it look more professional. You can also align text to be in the center by selecting what text you need. Note, if you do select part of a paragraph, it will perform the action on the whole paragraph. If you hit Control E, it will center the paragraph or text selection you have made. And finally, just not to forget it, you can also align text to the right hand side by hitting Control R. You can also indent paragraphs. This is useful if you don't want to add bullet points as well, but you want to make a succinct amount of valuable entries into your document and for them not to be bulleted. So as you can see here, I'm just going to select what I want to be indented, and then I'm just going to hit Control M. And as you see, that indents the paragraph and my selection. Now I can indent it again by hitting Control M, and the more you do that, the more it becomes indented in your document. Now this doesn't make it smaller like some bullet points can do, it just indents it further along the page. Now you can remove an indent one at a time as well as adding them. All you have to do is to add the shift in your shortcut. So this time, instead of doing Control M, we will do Control Shift M. And as you see I'm doing that, it's now moving left on the page. And now it's back to normal. Now you can also increase font sizes and decrease them as well. So as you know, if we go up here to the top, you can increase the font sizes, and as you see there are a variation and they go up in various increments, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, so on, and then it goes up in large chunks further down like 28, 36, 48 and 72. And in Word you can go up in those similar increments as well. So let's say I want to increase this text that I have selected, or let's say I just want to increase the word table, for example. You can do that by doing Control Shift and greater than symbol. Now, if you can't see the greater than symbol, it is generally on the key where you have the period or full stop symbol. And if you do Control Shift greater than, you can start see it's going up. So now it's at 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 36, 48. And it's going up in that increment in what I just showed you. Now you can decrease it along the same scale too. Now instead of the greater than symbol, we're going to go one key to the left on your keyboard, and that's going to be the less than key, which is also on the comma key. So Control Shift less than, and the more you click less than, the more you can decrease the size. You can hold your fingers on the Control and Shift on the far left hand side of your keyboard as you click the less than or greater than keys, and it will move as per whatever key you are pressing. Additionally, you can also not follow the scale that is by default and you can increase the size 1 point at a time. Now by 1 point, it will just go up in one in each size increment. So say the size is 24, if you increase it by 1, it's 25. Now I'm going to choose a different word. So let's say I want to increase the word charts 1 point at a time. You can do this by holding Control and then clicking the closing square bracket key. Now this will be generally near your enter button on your keyboard. And as you see in the top left, it's now gone to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And you can decrease the font size by 1 point by using the opening square brackets instead of the closing square brackets, which is generally one key to the left on your keyboard. So if I hold Control and click the opening square brackets, you can see it's decreased into 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, and 11. Now, this is not to say you don't have to type in the font size manually. Say you wanted to make the text you selected, say 75, and it's not one of the predefined, you can just click in the box here and type in 75 and hit enter, and it will increase it for you as well that way. Or you can just click the drop down to see all the different font sizes, and then if you hold on each one, it will show you a preview of that font's size. So I'll just revert it to 18 as an example. Now, you can also copy the formatting of some text. So what we're going to do here is I'm just going to select this paragraph, for example, and we're going to add some funky formatting to it. So we're just going to put some blue highlights, and we're going to put it with white text. Now, at this current moment, the current shortcut for copying the formatting is Control-Shift-C. Now this will act exactly the same way as Format Painter. So we're just going to select this paragraph, and you can either click Format Painter and then select where you want that theme to be replicated. And as you see, it's pasted the formatting. Or what you can do is select where you have that formatting at the moment, hit Control-Shift-C. Then what you can repeatedly keep doing is select where you want that to be pasted in terms of formatting, hit Control-Shift-V, Control-Shift-V, select another piece, Control-Shift-V, and keep going. You don't have to rely on reselecting it and clicking the Format Painter and then selecting your next piece. So to repeat, to copy a format is Control-Shift-C, and to paste that format, you have to select where you want it to be pasted first, and then hit Control-Shift-V. And the final formatting item is the show and hide formatting marks in Word. Now, this is a useful tool that allows you to see the formatting marks in your document. Now, these marks include things like paragraph marks, tab marks, spaces, which are normally hidden from view. Now, you don't really select any text. You can either select the button at the top in the home ribbon, which is this almost reverse P, or what you can do is hit Control Shift and then the 8 key where you have the asterisk. And as you can see, we can visualize all the different spacings. So this is really helpful if you ever wonder if you have double spacing, for example, or too many spaces between words. You can notice that very quickly with this. And as you see, there are now 2 spaces between the words text and box, just as an example of a use case for it. If you don't want this view on, you can disable it easily, just Control Shift and asterisk, which is on the number 8 on your keyboard. Now onto some word fundamentals. So if you want to create a new blank document, you can go to File, followed by New, or you can click Blank Document from the Home page, and it will open a blank new document for you. Or you can hit Control N, and that will open another blank document for you. If you need to open a document, you can go to File, and then click Open, and then search where you want to open your file from. Or you can hit Control O, and that will bring you to the same screen. Now, saving a document is very simple as well. If you're saving a blank document which hasn't been saved previously, when you hit Control S, it will take you to Save As, and then you can choose the appropriate location where you want to save your document. Once you've saved that document, by giving it a name and hitting Enter or the Save button, when you keep making edits to your document, you can either hit Control S to save the document if it's saved locally or online. But if you have saved your document online to somewhere such as OneDrive or SharePoint, you don't have to hit Control S, as it will auto-save the document for you. You can also change the document's view mode. Now, you can either do this via the View section of your ribbon, or you can do it by clicking on one of the three views in the bottom right next to your Zoom slider. And if you have Office 365, it will also be it will also be in the middle of the Zoom slider and the Focus Mode button. Now, on the left-hand side, you have the Read mode or Reading view. By default, it will be in Print Layout view. And then the third one is the Web Layout view. You can also click on that from the View part of the ribbon. And as you see, we have the Read mode, Print Layout, and Web Layout. Now, if you click into them, you see it will be on different parts, and it will change the view and how it will look. Now, if you click on Read mode, you see it comes to a view where the file is not really editable in any way, shape, or form. If you do want to go into editing the file, no problem. You can just click on View, and then you can click Edit Document. And you'll be taken back to the default print layout. And finally, you can print your document by going to File and selecting Print, or you can hit the shortcut Control P. Then make sure you have the correct printer selected from your printer drop-down. Once you've selected your printer and you're ready with the choices and settings for your printing, then go ahead and click Print. Now, moving on to select and edit text. So let's start off with selecting a block of text. Now, what you can do is you can select the text by clicking and dragging across the text you want to select, as I am here on screen, or click at the beginning of a text block, for example, and then hold down the Shift key and click at the end of the text selection that you want to do, and that will select your text. Now, I've shown it for a paragraph, but if we hold Shift here whilst my cursor's in the middle of the word sidebar and go to, say, the word produced, you can see it selected from sidebar up to where I ended it, which was on produced, and I'll just move it across to the end of the word. Did you know you can also select a sentence pretty quickly and easily in Word? All you need to do for this one is to press the Control key and then select a sentence of your choice. So I'm just going to hold Control and then select here, unselect it, then scroll to another sentence. So let's say I want to click on the one with the word you in, hold Control and then click it, and as you see, it selects the whole sentence for you. You can select a line of text with ease. All you have to do is click in the left-hand margin and it will select an entire line for you. If you need to select a whole paragraph, you can double click in the left-hand margin and it will select the whole paragraph for you. If you want to select everything that's in your document, you could use the shortcut Control A, but a slightly less known way you can select everything is by going to the Home tab in your ribbon, and then under Replace and Find, you will see something called Select. If you click on that, you can then click Select All, which will select everything within your Word document. If you need to edit some text, just select the text you want to edit or replace, and say we want to replace the word Word with Excel, for example. You select the word, and then you just type away to replace whatever you needed to change. If you want to cut, copy, and paste text, select what you want to cut, copy, or paste, and then go to Cut, Copy, or Paste under the clipboard area of the home part of your ribbon. And then either cut the text, paste it, or paste it with a different format, paste it as an image. That is just a selection of the things you can do. Let's say you accidentally pasted in an image of your text that you had selected previously. You can undo that by either doing Control Z or using the undo in your quick access toolbar in the top left of Word. Once you select that, it will undo the action. But if ever you need to redo or repeat an action, you can then click on the redo, which is right next to it in the top left, which is where you'll find your quick access toolbar. You can also check spelling and grammar errors. So potential spelling errors are underlined in red, such as here. If you want to correct it, you can right click it and you can select any correction. So say we want. And additionally, as you can see in the problem that's popped up on screen, you can also left click for writing suggestions. And in blue, you'll find potential grammar errors. So let's try the left click. And as you see, we get this little loading box telling us to be more concise and giving us a suggestion. And I'm happy with that suggestion, so I'll use it to replace it. You can also ignore spelling or grammatical errors. Now, as you can see on screen, I have color or color as a sentence. One has color written in British English and the other has it written in American English. And the American English one has been flagged up, so we can assume here that the document is defaulted to English in the United Kingdom. If you want to ignore a suggestion, you can either left click on it and click the ignore all icon in the bottom left, or what you can do is you can right click on it and click ignore all in the spelling part of the right click menu. Additionally, in the right click menu or the left click menu, you can also view items such as context and synonyms. Now on the left click menu it's turned off by default, but you can switch these on by going to the more options button. You can either just ignore this version of or this iteration of the word or misspelling. You can ask it to show context, so color or color. You can also get it to show synonyms. And as you see, it's readjusted itself on screen as it's a little too big to compare to what it used to be. And you can also turn these off as well. You can also add the term to the dictionary, but in this case, we're just going to ignore it. And I've just ignored this specific one. And as you see, the red underline has now disappeared. You can also check your spelling and grammar across the whole document by either clicking F7 or using Editor in the top right hand corner. If you click on Editor and give it a while, it will evaluate your whole document and tell you whether there's any spelling or grammatical errors. And as you see, our document has a 99% score and there's one grammatical error. Now, if we go back up to it, you see it's picked up the 2 spaces between the word text and box. I want it to join them back together and just put a normal 1 space. So I've selected that, and as you see now, grammar has a nice tick next to it. If you ever want to find out how many words you have written within your Word document, you can check on the bottom bar next to the page number, and you can see the number of words. If you don't have this turned on by default, you can right click on the bar and select word count from your customized status bar, and when you have that tick next to it, it will be visible. You can also access it via the review menu in your ribbon. So if you go to review and you go to word count in your proofing section, you can see how many words you have written, as well as how many pages, characters, paragraphs, and lines. You can also get the definition and look for synonyms for words in your document. So here we have the word professionally, and as you see, we've got this hover bar popped up. We can get the definition of the word professionally by clicking on define professionally. And on the right hand side, a search pane has opened up, which will be searching for the word professionally. And as you see on the right hand side, we now have a definition of the word, and that it is an adverb with also examples of it being used in sentences per definition. Now, if I close that right pane, you can also get a synonym for it. Now, you can do it through the review part of your ribbon and click on thesaurus. And as you see, you'll get all the possible synonyms for the word professionally. But generally, if you right click on it and go to synonyms, you'll get a subset of the generally used synonyms first. And if there isn't a synonym to your liking there, then you can click thesaurus, which will open up that pane on the right hand side, and you can choose a better word to fit it. Now, let's say we want to replace a word from one in our thesaurus. Let's say I want to exchange professionally for competently. You can then just click on the little drop down next to the word and then click insert, and it will replace the word for you in your Word document. You can also find text and replace it in Word as well. In older versions of Word, you used to have a window pop up where you would input the word and click find. In modern versions of Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office, if you hit Control F, you'll get a navigation pane open on the left hand side. If you click find in your home ribbon, you also get the same pane open up. As soon as you start typing for words, it will start refining the search, and as you see, there's 239 results at the moment. So I'm just going to keep typing, and as you see, it starts narrowing down my word to the possible answers and possible identifications of it within my document. Now, as you see, it's found the word competently, and it's also provided context on where it is, which is useful if you know roughly what's before or after as well, because we usually just don't remember a word. Sometimes when we're searching for something, we know the rough context. So if we're searching for something in a contract that was written in Word, we'll probably know the context around it, which is where this is very useful. Now, I also mentioned you can replace text. You can click on the replace, which will bring up that old window to find and replace, and you also find the old find part of that window. Now, if we go to replace, we're going to want to replace the word competently, and we're going to replace it with professionally. And once you're happy with what you want to exchange, then click replace or replace all, And as you see, it's made one replacement because there was only ever one iteration of it. And that change has been made. And as you see, the word professionally is now back in the document in that space. Now you can also insert symbols into Word. Now this is very useful if you need to insert characters which aren't available on your keyboard as well, but in other languages too. Now the way you can get to this is by going to Insert and then going to Symbol all the way on the far right hand side. Once you click it, you'll get a handful of generally used symbols. If the one you're looking for isn't there, you can click More Symbols and you'll get this window pop up called Symbol. Now you can then scroll through, and if you can't find the exact character you're looking for at the moment, you can also refine it by the subset. So say we're looking for something in Latin. So I'm just going to go with Latin Supplement 1, for example, and then I'm just going to click down on the bar to navigate, and let's say we wanted to find, let's say, an O with a little hook. Once you found it, you can then click it and click Insert, and then once you click Close, you see that symbol has been added. Now this is also good if you want to add a copyright into either a heading or footer as well. So let's double click into the header of the document. Let's head back to the insert part of the ribbon, and we're going to go to symbol. Now any new symbols that you do pull from the more symbols and the symbol window will start appearing within your frequently used. But the defaults will also be there and eventually will roll off the more that you use it. And let's say we wanted to add that copyright. Now we have that copyright C. And then I'm just going to put for the fun of it. You can also insert equations. So I'm just going to create a gap here. You can also insert equations for maths. So if you need to make a maths paper for school or anything in terms of exams or chemistry or science related and it needs an equation, you can do that in Word too. So if you go to equation, you will get a bunch of default ones such as formulas that will be useful especially for GCSEs and potentially A-level exams as well. But say the equation you want isn't here, you can go to Insert New Equation or Inc Equation. If you click Insert New Equation, this is something you can type. So I'm just going to do 2x plus 4 equals 5 as an example. Now if you hit End or the right cursor key to move out of that, you can then type back in your normal font. You can also ink an equation. So if we go back into that and I click ink equation, you also get this math input control window. Now this is really good if, for example, what you was looking for was not available in the equations window originally. So I'm just going to do a big sigma and I'm just going to insert that for the moment. And then you will also get this equation part of your ribbon open up where you can add various other symbols and icons as well in. So say you need to do plus or minus, you can also add that in as well. It is also very, very smart. As you see, I'm on this new page. And the last thing I'm going to show you in this part is inserting text from another file. So the way you can do this is by going to, you guessed it, Insert in the ribbon, and then we're going to go to Object. Now we're just going to click on the drop down and we're going to click Text from File. So as you see, I have my File Explorer window showing me to insert a file. Now you can choose a Word document to insert, but I'm just going to select all files and I want this text from file from a text document, for example. Now I'm just going to double click that and we're going to wait for it to import. And here you go, it's imported the text within the file, which says select and edit text. Is so cool. You can also do it for Word documents as well. I'm just going to click on the saved, and as you see, it's added in some lorem ipsum that was in that saved Word document. Now, you can also change. Now, formatting text and paragraphs. You can change the font. So as you see here, we have two different fonts. And as you see, because we have two different fonts, the font, and because they're of different sizes, the font size is also both empty. Now we're going to choose a font. We're going to choose, let's say, Tenorite. And as you see, it's now changed that. Now, if there isn't a font that you know of, but you know the rough style that you want, you can also just click on the drop down arrow and search for the font in your big drop down list that you have available. If you have Office 365, you'll have access to more fonts in here. If you have older Office versions, you may not have the more modern fonts such as Seaford, Tenorite, and so on. If you have customized fonts installed on your device, you will have them in your dropdown. For example, I have Ubuntu specially installed, so these fonts are available here for me to use in Word. You can also change the font size. You can click on the arrow and select a font size of your choice, or you can type it in yourself. So I'm selecting 9.5 as an example. Let's say I don't want this in black, but I want it in, let's say, green. You can click on the font color, which is here. Click on the drop down arrow next to the A with the red underline. The red underline is the color that it will use by default if you just click on that aspect. I'm going to go to green, and now you see I selected green. The red underline has now changed to green. If you want to make text bold, italicized, or underlined, you can use the bold, italics, and you can underline it as well. You can add a double underline, and you can add dotted underlines and more. So I'm just going to add in this thick underline. And if you want to clear any formatting that is on text, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to reselect it. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up to this A with the eraser. Now if we click it, you see it's now erased all the formatting that was put on the text that we had selected. You can also create bulleted lists, so select the text you want to be bulleted, and then you can just click on the bullet points, and as you see, it has created it into bullets for us. But you can also customize that bullet by choosing those which are already defined in the bullet library. Or if you want to define your own, you can do that as well by clicking define new bullet. And then you can choose a symbol. And let's say we want this one, for example. And I'm just going to click OK. You can now see that new symbol has been added for us, and that has been used in the document. You can also create it as a, or change it to a numbered list by just clicking on the numbered list, and as you see now it's converted it to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you can also align paragraphs by using the left, center, right, and justify, which we can all see in the paragraph section of the home part of the ribbon. So if I hit center, it centers the text. Right, it puts the text on the right. Justify puts it to the left, but as you can see, it's got all these finishing at the same time. You can also change the text to react like a table as well. So you can add a border, you can add shading as well. So I'm going to show you how you do that too. So if I want to add shading, let's say I want this light orange accent, you can now see it's added it in as if it was a table. Now I'm just going to reselect all of this and we're going to add border. Now we can play around with the border and add a bottom border, a top border, a left border, and so on. We can add all borders. We can also do just inside borders, so it splits each paragraph. You can also do inside vertical borders, which isn't applicable in this scenario. So I'm just going to do inside horizontal border. And you can also insert horizontal lines into your document too, which will separate contents as well. Now, clearing that formatting, I can also show you how you can change the line spacing between lines. And the way you can do that is by using this up and down arrow with a paragraph. And you can change how big the line spaces are and paragraph spaces are. And you can also add custom placements as well. So let's say we want it smaller. I'm just going to choose half. You see that's a little too small. You can also change it to whatever you want, 1.15 as an example. Now, to copy the formatting of text, what you can do is select the formatted text, which is your desired format. So say this text in Ubuntu thin. Click Format Painter, and then scroll to the text you would want to have that desired format, and then select it. And the font will be the font, the color scheme, the size will be applied to the new text you have selected. You can also indent your paragraphs and set custom indents. Now, to perform standard indentation like we did with the shortcuts earlier, select your text, and then if you can see there are two buttons, one with the left arrow and one with the right arrow. Now the one with the right arrow increases the indent, so if you click it, it indents to the right. Whilst if you click the one with the left arrow, it decreases the indent. Now you can also adjust the indent to whatever you want it to be by just clicking on the little pop-out icon in the bottom right of the paragraph area of the Home tab in the ribbon. And then you can see this section called indentation. And now you can say you want an indent of 1 centimeter. You can even get that mirrored, or you can just leave it as 1 centimeter. Like that as the left or right, input whatever value, and as you see it's indented to the left by 1 centimeter. Now we can also do the same for the right hand side, let's say 1.5, and you see it's performed an indent on the right hand side. You can also enable the ruler in Word, which was available by default in previous versions. Just go to the View tab in your ribbon, click on it, and then look for ruler, which is here under the show section, and now you can see your ruler. You can also enable the grid lines if you prefer, but it may be of preference to have that unticked and disabled. You can also set a tab stop in Word. Now click anywhere in a paragraph where you want to add a tab stop to. So let's say I want it about here. Then click on the ruler, on a spot on the ruler. Now you see there's this little tab stop here. Now what you can do is go to your Home tab and then click on the little group dialog box icon for paragraph. And now where we're going to go is to tabs in the bottom left. I'm going to click on tabs. And now you can also enter in a position where you want your tab stop to be. So let's say 2. I want it to be lead number 2 and I want it centered. Click set and then click OK when you're finished adding your tab stops. Now there are 4 different types of tab stops. So if we go back into the paragraph grouping and then go to tabs in the bottom left, you can see there are 4 different alignment types alongside the 5th one of bar, but the first 4, left, center, right and decimal, these will appear differently in your ruler. So the left one, if I click OK, you see it does a sort of L shaped for your tab stop on your ruler. Now if we go back to that, center, we saw it sort of had a upside down T, and that kind of signifies symmetry, so left and then right, so center. Right will have a reversed L, so you know that is the right aligned. And then the final one is decimal. Now, decimal aligned will align text and numbers by decimal point, and you can see there's an additional sort of dot above the centered type icon for the tab stop. Now, if you want to remove a tab stop, that's really easy too. All you have to do is click and drag your tab stop off of the ruler, and then voila, it is disappeared. Let's have a look at formatting the page. Now, beginning with choosing a margin size. Now, if you go to layout in your ribbon and click on it, you will have margins on the far left hand side. Now, if you click on that, you'll have some standard margins which are choosable, such as normal, narrow, moderate, wide, and mirrored. You can also see that they all have different dimensions of where the margins begin and end. So the narrow is obviously 1.27 on each edge compared to normal, which is 2.54 centimeters. Now if we go to custom margins, you can then create your own type of margin. You can adjust the top, you can adjust the bottom, the left and the right. So we're just going to move this to 2 on each edge, and we're just going to click OK. And as you see, the text is now expanded to fill more of the pages. And because the margins have been made smaller from that inch to 2 centimeters, you can see the page number on the bottom left has shifted from 70 to 63. You can also change the paper size as well. So if you click on size, you can then choose whether you want it to be an A3, executive, a letter size, tabloid, and so on. You can also click more sizes and choose a different one that wasn't available in the drop-down, or you can create your own custom size page. You can also change the page orientation in the layout tab of your ribbon. By default, it is generally in portrait orientation, but you can also switch it to landscape. Now, do note that landscape will change how you can view it, especially if you have it on a page width for your size, to which what you can do is go over to the size slider, the zoom slider, click on it and then reselect page width, and it should go back down to a size where you can see everything. You can also use a header or footer, and as you see, we do have a header or footer. You can just double click into them to type, but say you can't double click into it, you can go to the insert and then you can click header or footer and then choose a custom header or footer there, or you can just edit the footer or remove it. So let's say we want to add a footer with something on odd pages, so document title and so on, and we can edit it. And there you go, we have our footer. You can then click close header and footer or hit the escape key to come out of it. You can also add page numbers to the document. Just go to Insert, and in the same header and footer area, you can click Page Number, and you can put page number anywhere on the document that you would like. So in this scenario, what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the page margins, and we're going to go vertical right, and we're just going to hit OK, and then we're just going to close the header and footer. And we're going to change this orientation back to portrait so you can have a look at it as well. And as you see, we have page 1 on the right hand side, page 2, and so on. You can also format columns into your document. Now, if you go to columns, you can then choose how many columns you want, whether you want a column on the left, on the right, and you can select more columns to make it more custom. So we're just going to select 4, for example, in this columns window. And as you see, there are now 4 columns on every single page, and it would read as if almost you were having a newspaper in front of you. So to make your document look professionally produced, Word provides header, footer, cover page, and text box, and you see it reads like a normal document. Now, the more columns you have, the more pages that it may spill onto. So if you want to switch to like a 2 column, it might be more preferred and a lot easier to read than 4, just primarily because if the text is quite large, you will end up having lots and lots of pages with your text on, and it might get a little bit difficult to read if you have 5 columns or 6 as an example per page. Now, let's say you want to insert a column break, place where you want that column break to happen. So I'm doing it at the start of this paragraph here. And go to Breaks in the Layout tab, and then select Column. And what you see there is it will create a break for the rest of that column and move all the text to a new page, or the new column on the other side of the page. If you want to create a page break, for example, you can do that as well. So let's say I want the page break here. Go to breaks as well and go to page, and it will just move the entire text to the new page for you. You can add a watermark to your documents by going to the Design tab in your ribbon. Then, if you go to the right hand side, you will see Watermark. Click on it and add one of the predefined watermarks, or you can add your own custom watermark. So you can have it as a picture watermark or a text one. So we're going to go for text, and we're going to choose the text icon format. And you can choose the type of font you want it in from your drop down. You can scroll and select one. I'm going to try and look for a new Ubuntu font, for example. I'm going to choose Ubuntu Condensed, click OK. And now you can see on the page, very, very faintly, I can format. Now, if we go, say, to the end of the document, it might be more visible here. You can see there is a watermark of I can format. You can also add a page color as well. So say I want this light, let's say light yellow. You can now see the page color has been reflected as light yellow across all the pages. And if you want to add a border to the page, you can just click on page borders. And then you can choose what you'd like. So we're just going to go for let's say a 3D design. And we're going to have this sort of thick border, and I want the width to be about 2¼ points instead of 3, as that's a little too big. And you can add custom art to it if you want. In this case, I'm not going to, so you can just leave it as none. Select that again and say 2¼ points. Apply it to the whole document and click OK. And now you see there is a border on each page.